Hello everyone, welcome to General Hospital Daily Channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. Anna finds the land and Britt's danger is now very real. Let us start with Anna, because what's just happened represents the most alarming development in this storyline since Peter first started appearing in her hallucinations. The story has crossed from planning into action, and that crossing is not a small thing. Here is what happened and why it matters. Sunny agreed to sell Anna a parcel of land in the mountains for what she described as a private retreat. She specifically indicated she does not want anyone else to know about this land. She has been deliberately secretive about the purchase in a way that has nothing to do with wanting peaceful isolation and everything to do with needing a location where something can happen without witnesses. Anna now has the place. Let us hold that for a moment. Anna, Port Charles's commissioner, one of the most trusted and respected figures in this town's law enforcement history, a person whose entire professional identity has been built around protecting people from exactly the kinds of threats she is currently becoming, has acquired a secluded property with the explicit intention of using it to commit a crime. She does not know that is how it will be described afterward. She is operating from inside the distorted logic of Peter's influence, where the crime is framed as justice and the victim is framed as someone who deserves what is coming to them. But the crime is the crime regardless of how the hallucination frames it. And the property is real. And the plan is real. And Britt is walking toward it completely unaware. The setup has been laid. Anna offered to help Britt find information about Cassius. She told Britt it had to be delivered in person. She made it seem like secrecy was necessary for protective reasons. Information this sensitive cannot be communicated digitally. They need to meet somewhere private. Britt accepted. Why would she not accept? Anna is the police commissioner. Anna has been the person between Britt and threats for most of Britt's life. The idea that Anna is the threat is simply not part of Britt's operating framework. That is the specific danger of what Peter has constructed in Anna's mind. The most effective trap is the one where the person walking into it has no reason to look for it. Now here is where the show's track record with Britt has to be factored into the discussion. She was returned to Port Charles, given her life back, given a fresh start and a disease-free future, and the specific kind of second chance that this show extends to characters it values. Going to all of that trouble to then have Anna successfully kill her would be a storytelling choice that is very difficult to justify given everything that investment signals. The more likely version of what happens at that property, and it is consistent with what the show has done with captivity stories throughout its history, is that Anna does not immediately do what Peter is telling her to do. She wrestles with herself. The rational part of her brain that knows this is wrong is still there, still operating, still generating objections to every step Peter pushes her toward. It has been overridden repeatedly. It will continue to be overridden. But in the moment when Anna has Britt in front of her and Peter's voice is telling her to finish it, something is going to interfere with that completion. Maybe Anna's own conscience is that interference. Maybe it is someone arriving, Jason, who has been tracking something wrong in Anna since his return, or Tristan, who has his own reasons to be paying attention to Britt's safety, or even Rocco, who has already accidentally saved Britt once simply by being someone she wanted to visit. Maybe the property itself, the specific isolated quality that made Anna choose it, is also what makes it possible for Britt to survive while someone figures out where she is. But the nail-biting stretch the spoilers reference is real. Britt in a location Anna controls, with Peter's voice becoming increasingly insistent, watching Anna argue with a hallucination that only Anna can see, that is genuinely frightening. Not because Britt is not capable of fighting for herself, but because the specific threat she is facing is not one that conventional defenses address. You cannot reason with someone else's hallucination. You can only survive it. Port Charles needs Jason to connect the dots faster than Anna's plan can execute. That is what this comes down to. Every scene where Jason has noticed something wrong with Anna, filed it away, continued watching, all of that is the show building toward the moment when he acts on what he has noticed, and it makes the difference between Britt surviving and the alternative. The parcel of land in the mountains exists. The invitation has been extended, the trap has been set, and the clock has started. Carly's epiphany and the peace that is not really peace. Now let us talk about Carly and the realization that is landing on her this week, because this is one of those moments where the character's history becomes the storytelling itself, where decades of having lived through something gives a person a perspective that no amount of argument could create. Carly has been here before, many times, in many forms. The specific pattern that she has watched play out across the 40-plus years of Port Charles's relationship with organized crime is a pattern she knows with the visceral knowledge of someone who has lived inside it, not studied it, not observed it from the outside, but inhabited it with her children and her marriages and her fears and the losses that still live in the specific weight she carries when she lets herself remember. Both Jason and Sunny have now left the mob. That is extraordinary. That is the kind of thing that would have seemed impossible to believe for most of the time Carly has been connected to either of them.
She has wanted this.
She has argued for it. She has supported Jason's decision with everything she has, and she has understood why Sunny made the choice he made. She believes in it, and she is also afraid of it. Because here is what Carly knows that the people who have not been living this life for as long as she has might not fully understand. The absence of Sunny and Jason from the mob world of Port Charles is not simply the removal of two people from a particular industry. It is a power vacuum. And power vacuums in Port Charles, in any world that operates the way this world operates, do not stay empty. They get filled. Not always immediately. Not always visibly, but inevitably. The 5 families on the eastern seaboard are gone. Selena Wu left because of Jen's. The specific criminal landscape that defined Port Charles for decades has been dismantled in a way that has no direct precedent. It genuinely looks peaceful from the outside. It genuinely looks like the danger has finally lifted. That appearance of peace is exactly what frightens Carly. She remembers every time things looked like they were finally safe. She remembers putting her boys in boarding school to protect them from a world that found them anyway. She remembers thinking she was finally out of range of the danger and discovering that the danger had simply been waiting for exactly that moment of lowered guard. Just when everything seems peaceful and under control, that is when chaos strikes. That is when Port Charles discovers that the peace was not a resolution, but an interval. Carly does not know who is coming. That is part of what makes the fear so specifically unsettling. When she knew the enemy, she could prepare for them. She could watch the right directions, guard the right relationships, identify the specific threat, and build around it. The enemy she is afraid of now is the one she cannot see. The one who is watching the vacuum created by Sunny's exit and Jason's departure and is simply waiting for the moment to move in without either of them there to prevent it.
She needs to tell both of them this.
Not as a way of pulling them back into the world they have left. She genuinely supports the exit and the legitimacy, and the father Jason wants to be for Danny, and the businessman Sunny wants to be for his legitimate holdings. But as a warning that the guard cannot come down. That the exit from one identity does not create the same kind of safety that the exit from danger would create. That the people who were protected by Sunny's presence in the world are not automatically safe simply because he has changed the nature of that presence. This epiphany is Carly at her most essential. Not the dramatic Carly. Not the Carly who rushes toward crisis or schemes to fix things. The Carly who has lived through enough to see clearly what the people she loves might be missing because their attention is on the right things in the wrong way. She sees the peace. She is glad for it.
And she is also not fooled by it.
The larger picture and what both dangers mean for Port Charles. And now let us step back and look at what both of these stories together are telling us about the fall that is arriving. Anna buying land for a burial site. Carly warning that the peace Sunny and Jason are stepping into may be the interval before something worse. These are not separate stories. They are the same story told from different angles. The story of Port Charles moving through one kind of danger toward the next kind, with the specific vulnerability of a transition period in between. The mob transition is the structural danger. The absence of the people who knew how to navigate that world, creating a space that something new and unknown will eventually occupy. The specific thing Carly is afraid of is not something she can name yet. It may not have a name yet in the storytelling, but the fear she is articulating is pointing toward the fall's primary threat, something that arrives in the space that Sunny and Jason's departure created, something that Port Charles is not fully prepared for because the familiar defenses have been retired. Anna's crisis is the personal danger. One of Port Charles's most trusted and capable people, operating from a compromised internal state, Using the institutional trust she has built over a career to execute something that institution was built to prevent. The danger that comes from inside the system, from the person you would never think to be afraid of, from the damage that goes undetected longest because it wears the face of someone you have always believed was safe. Thank you for watching. For a daily update, don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon.